Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and this video is going to be a little different than my normal videos. And that's because one, I'm recovering from pneumonia, and then now it's allergy season, so my brain's been a little, I don't know, malfunctioning. But the main reason is because there's a topic that I want to cover that I think is important as we are entering into, I will say, a season of uncertainty, considering the interest rates and just a lot of the chaos in the world. There are so many businesses right now that have been filing for bankruptcy. Some of them are not lucky enough to make it out. Bed Bath & Beyond is one of them, right? They filed bankruptcy, I think, last year. And when they went to the bankruptcy courts, they said, sorry, you don't have the assets, you don't have the ability to come out of it. Sold off the name, and now it doesn't exist anymore, right? There are so many companies that have done that. And the one I want to focus on, though, because it's the only one I followed for long enough to be able to definitively say that the stories of businesses filing bankruptcy are a little sketchy to me. Not because they're not filing them, because clearly they are. But Joann Fabrics is a company that's in the craft business. They've been around for like 81 years. They have been a story of woe my entire life. Okay, I'm not young. I know I look it, but I'm not young. And my entire life, there's been a question on whether they're going to survive or not. And it's just simply because they, have low prices on items and they have poor customer service for the most part. It's not horrible, but it's not great. And it hovers closer to that poor range. They don't do anything that another company can't do. So if you think of it, they just exist because they've been around long enough. There was a private company that owned them and they kept dumping money into them. And that was until 2021. So for those of you who remember, in 2020, in March, April 2020, the pandemic started. And that created a huge demand for cotton. So in 2019, they're a private company not generating a profit. Now, it's private numbers. We don't know for sure. But for the most part, there's no way they were profitable. I mean, when they announced that they were going public in 2021, I questioned this. I said, why are they going public? Their company is not sustainable. Their business practice is not sustainable. They have nothing novel or nothing that is in demand or needed, except for during the pandemic, they had fabric, right? So honestly, they kind of got lucky that they had enough fabric in the United States. So when things closed down and they could get back in, because they did close down for a while, pushed a lot of people online. My sister and I both sell fabric. I started one of my fabric stores during the pandemic simply because there was so much demand and nobody to fulfill that demand, right? My sister, she ended up getting pneumonia because she was working so hard and she was working so many hours to fulfill. She did more sales in 1 month than most people make in 2 years, right? So it was insane. And Joann's had closed for a couple months, just like everybody else, for a couple weeks. I don't know, however long it was. Felt like a couple months. But when they opened back up and they were able to cater a little bit more to online, they sold a lot of fabric, and that made them profitable. That made them appear profitable. Okay, appear profitable. I have a degree in business, but I don't really pay that much attention to how a company goes public, right? So I know there's steps involved, that you can have an initial public offering, and then I get all that. And even then, I say I get all of that. I don't get all of that. It's confusing to me on how a company like Joann's can not show a profit for more than 6 or 8 months and then go, oh, we're going to go public because we're a profitable company. When, for those of you who have been around long enough or studied this, in 2008, we had the financial crisis. And that was because of all the fraud that was going on in real estate and kind of trading and selling stuff. And it was it was mostly linked to real estate, though. And so 2008 followed other financial issues. We had the Enron fiasco and other ones where they basically committed fraud to inflate the stock market and then eventually caught up to them and everything failed, right? So after 2008, they put laws in place that said CEOs are basically responsible for if you report bad numbers. So they had to report accurate numbers. So my question stands on this from the day they announced that they were going public. How? Right? You look at their history, you look at their numbers, and you go, they are not really a profitable company. And I would actually say for a lot of the ones that are going bankrupt, this probably stands true for all of them, that if you were to look at the numbers, they've been running on debt, right? They just keep increasing their debt to cover stuff. When I worked in security, I had a security company with my ex-husband, and we worked with a company called Monotronics. We closed our company right before they filed bankruptcy, and they just reorganized. They didn't go completely out of business, but they filed bankruptcy, and it was basically that same thing. They were increasing their debt, and while they were bringing in more income, eventually the income stalemated and their debt ballooned. Right now, we talk about increase in interest rates lately, and when you are talking interest rates on a $5,000 credit card going up, we cry, right? Talk about that on $2 billion in debt. And I know if you say, oh, well, they're reporting 1 billion. Yeah, well, they had 2 billion and somehow they got 150 million and they cut it in half. No. So again, their numbers aren't adding up and they never have added up. So we jump to the conclusion that all these companies are filing bankruptcy, that we must have a bad economy. No. If you look at these companies, most of them, it's because they did not have a sustainable business model. There could be fraud in some of them. You know, when I worked at Montgomery Ward's way back in the day, and Montgomery Ward's closed, not, if you go to montgomerywards.com, there's an actual company there. That's not the one. That was bought out during the bankruptcy in 1999 to 2000. And I remember I was working there, and it was in Reno, Nevada. I live in Sparks, so. And they go, maybe it was Sparks. Anyway, it's in Reno Sparks right there. And so one day I get this shipment that comes in. I'm so excited because we've been waiting for this shipment to come in. I was in the draperies department and we sold these shears, and they had said, I called corporate, told them, hey, I need more. And they're like, okay, well, it's on the next one. You better sell them or else. I always sold my stuff, so I don't know what their deal was. So I opened the box and I'm supposed to have like 30 of them, right? And I pull out 2. And I'm like, 2? What am I going to do with 2? People have to buy like 10 at a time. So I call them up and I'm like, look, you told me you're sending me 30. I received 2. And they're like, well, you're just going to have to mark the other ones out of stock over the next couple of months. And I'm like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. If they sent me 30, I should have 30. You need to call them up and tell them to send me the 28. Mind your own business, Kim. That's what they told me. And I said, what? So this happened for a lot of products. So I suspect, even though I can't prove it, that there was fraud somewhere along the line, and either people didn't want to deal with it or whatever. So they ended up going bankrupt. So I think that that's what we're seeing is a combination of events. I don't know if fraud plays a role in the other companies. I don't think it plays a role in Joann's. I truly think that the Joann's issue is they didn't have a sustainable business in the first place. So with that in mind, one of the classes I teach at the college level is called, it's called Driving Business Opportunities, something like that, but it's about the blue ocean strategy. So in short, the blue ocean strategy is basically a company comes up with an idea that's innovative. It doesn't have to be innovative, just has to be creative enough, right? And so it's innovative, and I just think that term gets thrown around a lot, and it doesn't really mean anything to most people. So we're going to call it innovative because that's what they do. And then we say, okay, it's going to cater to, and this is the key part of it, it caters to people who want to buy something and don't have that option. And one of the examples they give in the Blue Ocean strategy is Curves Gym. Now, today we would question Curves Gym being a Blue Ocean strategy because we say, aren't they going bankrupt? I don't know if they are, but they've been closing places down for the last 10 years that I've seen. But they are an example because what they did was they identified a market. And this is the key point to it all, right? You identify a market that has a need. In this case, it was women who wanted to go to a gym, didn't want to go to a gym with a bunch of men gawking and staring at them, and they wanted to have equipment that could cater to their needs, right? So Curves came out with heavier duty equipment, focusing specifically on being able to support their needs, the women's needs, and it targeted women. So, hey, look, men, and I don't know that they necessarily said no men allowed, it was just they targeted women. So women went there. But they were willing to pay. That's the big thing. They were willing to pay in the first place. They wanted to pay for a gym membership, but they couldn't because their needs weren't met. So Curves found this specific market and said, you know what? We can build an entire company out of this. Right? And they did that. And it was great. It was phenomenal. They did wonderful. And it helped a lot of women. And you see this with so many companies. I'll take Walmart as an example. First of all, I am astounded by the fact that we still use Walmart in business as a solid strategy, because all they do is use their internal data to push out other companies and put their own products in. They've been doing the same stuff they've always been doing, right? Undercut the competition, and then we're going to win on price alone. That's not going to last forever. And the fact that they can't get that in their heads is going to be their downfall one day, unless they change something. But I was there the other day. It's one of the only places I can get some of the gluten-free items that I needed for my daughter and myself. And we went to get bananas, which, by the way, more than gluten-free people eat bananas. And we went to get bananas. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday, and they're like, no bananas. And they had been out for a while. So I'm trying to find an employee, and at the same time, somebody else finds the same employee and says, hey, I need more of this. And they found 1 can of something, and they're like, I need more of this. And they're like, well, sorry, we only stock at night. So you're going to only stock your items at night when you're out of stock a third of the way through the day? That's ridiculous. So you can't go to the back and get more? I mean, it baffles me that we are pointing to these companies and saying, that's the way to run a business. No, it's not. What you do to run a business is you cater to the customer's demands. The customer's demanding bananas, give them bananas. So yeah, I'm a little upset I didn't get bananas the other day. I've been there like 5 times and they've always been out of bananas. I can go at 10 o'clock in the morning, they're out of bananas. And I'm not going when they open because I am too busy. So if we look at Walmart, though, and we say, are they providing value to people? For the most part, they are not. Now, I say that, and there is some value to bringing in an item at a lower cost, right? There is a value to that. And Walmart does cater to people who are looking for lower costs, right? So they are competing on price within their own company. So their strategy isn't completely out of place, but one of the elements of the blue ocean strategy is it can't be easily replicated. Okay. And I would argue that if you compete on price alone, like Walmart is doing, that it's easily replicated. It is, right? So theoretically, if Target wanted to do the exact same thing, which they probably are, then they could come out with the same product that Walmart comes out with at the same price or lower and bring in just as many people. And now you're just competing with each other, right? You're not adding any value to the market, okay? And this is where you look at a company like Apple. Apple is kind of the exception to the rule. Most companies are coming in and they're just competing with each other. They're introducing a product that competes with another product, right? And I'll go back to Walmart as an example. I used to get this gluten-free waffle mix there. They stopped carrying it for like 6 months. And I'm like, every time they do this, they leave a spot on the shelf. And then the next thing I know is the spot's gone and they've brought in their own brand. Sure enough, 6 months later, they're bringing their own brand. It's not the same, right? They brought in a cheaper waffle mix and it is gluten-free, but it didn't have the high protein in it that I needed. I'm okay giving my daughter waffles every morning if they're high protein waffles. I'm not okay giving my daughter waffles every morning if it's full of sugar, which is what they had. I had a paleo one that I was doing. Now I do add chocolate chips, but that's just so she eats them. But again, still less sugar than they were putting in the gluten-free items. So to me, it wasn't adding more value by bringing in a lower cost product that didn't have the value of the first item. And they stopped carrying that, right? So now I have to track it down somewhere else. And that's what I mean by you need to add value. So if they had brought one out that was a better improved, right? I mean, there's this big push for plant-based everything, right now. I'm not a huge fan of that, but to each their own. Cauliflower, everything. I want to know who the team or person is that started the marketing for cauliflower, because they're geniuses. It is cauliflower everything and has been for years. And I'm like, how is this? I buy cauliflower. I bought it once. Cauliflower gluten-free pizza. It is gross. It is so gross. And I'm like, who would eat this? And yet they keep stocking it. So I guess a lot of people eat their pizza with ranch because it disguises I mean, if you're eating cauliflower and ranch, it makes sense, right? Anyway, so you need to provide value. Now, assuming cauliflower were tasty, and that would be value, right? Okay, you brought in something, it's different, it's value. But let's look at Apple. So I mentioned Apple. Now, Apple is the exception to the rule, right? So you come in and you say, okay, we're going to have a blue ocean strategy. And most companies, they're going to come up with something that, even if it is novel and new, it's temporary. It's easily replicatable. And so within a year or two, it's getting taken over by another company. Apple's been the exception to that. They come out with technology and people try to replicate it and they just can't reach that level. So, one of the things that I think about too is over the years, so I remember when smartphones first came out and they weren't really received all that well until, of course, they had internet access. And then it was like, that was it. That was done. But I remember being one of the first ones in my area with both texting. And then it was Live Free or Die Hard had a phone in it. And I was like, I want that phone. Of course, he was accessing satellites and I never figured out how to do that. But anyway, the phone was really cool. But it was one of the first phones that you could get on like internet. And you didn't have to use data back then. You could just get on over, they didn't have like separate plans. So none of my friends even had that because they didn't have a smartphone because it was way too expensive. And then this phone you didn't have to have a data plan for it. So it was just crazy. So we had that. It didn't last long because that was back on 2G. And it didn't last long. They switched to 3G, made the phones inoperable. And then, of course, you had to bring your own plans. But think about this. So Apple comes out with, gosh, I think the first thing I got from them was the second version of the iPod, which I don't even know if they still make those. I'm sure they do, but for music, right? So they just took something that was in high demand. Music has always been in high demand. And it's been extremely difficult to access, especially on the move, right? I mean, you had your old, I know some of my audience is way too young to remember these, but you had your old headsets, your Walkmans and stuff. I remember having one of those it was like headphones, but it was it was a radio. And that was how I was able to listen on the move. But I had commercials with it, right? So then you'd have your Walkman with your tapes. I know there's gonna be some of you who are like, tapes? What are that? My daughter, she's like, you know what you're talking about? That's not real, Mom. I'm like, it's real. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, I have them and they're in the storage unit. So then finally you went to a digital platform. And when the digital platform came out where you could have multiple songs, more than you could have on a CD, and this little teeny tiny thing, and it wasn't that tiny. It was they got them tiny, but now, back when they first came out, and then they added video to it, right? They kept adding features to it that people were like, I need this. I need this. Now, do we really need it? No. But we think we do. And that's the thing, is we have this perceived value for these things. We can get stuff on demand. There's a perceived value to that. It's saving me time. Yeah, it's also wasting your time. But we don't see it that way. Customers don't see it that way. And so you look at a company like Apple and go, yeah, they've tapped into what people truly feel they need. Now, I'm not saying we don't need our smartphones. I don't have an Apple. I have an iPad, but I don't have an Apple. I have a Samsung. Though I just recently found out that they're not going to keep providing updates on it, so I might have to get a new phone. But I have an iPad. I love my iPad. It drives me crazy when I can't find the apps, but I finally figured out how the search function. So I now can find my apps a lot easier. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. But there's so much value in Apple products that somebody's saying, yeah, I want $2,000 for this thing. Hey, you give me funding, I will happily figure out how to pay 50, 60 bucks a month to be able to have that product. I'll pay $100 a month. I can afford $100 a month to have what I need, right? Joann's doesn't have anything anybody needs. Now, I understand. I am in the crafting world as far as like selling products to crafters, right? I like to help support them with marketing and everything. But let's just break this down. Does somebody need fabric? Maybe, but it's going to be a really small amount of people. And even then, do they need the fabric from Joann's? I would argue no. And the reason why I say no is because I can sell similar fabric. Sometimes it's sold at Joann's and I buy it through a distributor, right? I pay more at the distributor than people buy at Joann's, which it probably shouldn't exist anymore. Again, that's because they're a poor business model. We can dive into that some other time if you guys are interested. But I can buy something, let's just say I pay $6. They might pay $1 or $2 for it. They're selling it for $5.50. All right, so they're selling it for less than I'm buying it for. I have to mark it up to cover my costs, right? So I might have to sell that for $18, $15, I don't know, somewhere around there, right? Because of all the fees that I have to sell. They don't have all those fees because they have all their systems placed. They have other expenses, which again is why I say not sustainable, but they sell. I can still sell mine for triple their price because they don't cater to what people need. I need 10 yards. I need a yard. They cut it off and a yard's supposed to be 36 inches. You get it in the mail as 32 inches. I needed a full yard. You do that enough times, you lose your customers, right? They stopped providing what people felt they needed. They stopped giving the value. Oh, I will pay $5 for a yard of fabric because that's a good value. But when I get it and it's not a yard, now I feel ripped off. It's still a good value to them, right? Joann's will put stuff on sale. They'll put some of their designs on sale for like $2.99 a yard. I don't know how they cover the cost of their employees with that. I'm sure they're banking on people buying other stuff that's more expensive. But if they say, okay, if I'm buying, man, $2.99 a yard, that's amazing. I'm gonna go buy 3 yards. And then I go to buy it, or I buy it online, and I get 3 32-inch pieces. Not only did I not get a one 3-yard piece that I want, but I got all of them shorted. People's perceived value is based on what you promise them. You promise them 3 yards of something, and you give them something less than that, it could still be a great value. But their perceived value was at what you promised them, right? There's a team that I follow. They haven't really been doing stuff together that I've seen, but I will purchase their products sometimes. And my sister and I got one of their products recently, and I've been going through it, and I'm like, I know all this information. And so I'm like, to me, the perceived value was not really there unless, and this is what it was. So I already knew how to do what they were teaching, but I also knew that I wasn't doing it. So I'm like, well, I'm missing some steps. If they can answer those steps, they meet my perceived value. So it's an 8-week course. It's actually longer than that, but it's first 8 weeks. First week, they introduce this, and I'm like, this is all basic information. This is ridiculous. It's going to be so boring for me. Second week, they give the information. I understand the concepts, and they're like, use this tool. And they're like, here's a resource for you to help speed it up, right? And they give us a formula. And I'm like, what? I use that tool all the time. Well, how does this work? So I pull it in the spreadsheet, put the formula in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this entire course is worth it, right? For that one piece of information. And I have to argue that if you can at least meet, but if you can beat the perceived value, you have a lifelong customer. And that's where I think that Joann's went wrong, right? I don't know how they treated people more than 5 or 6 years ago, because I've only been dealing with them for 5 or 6 years. But I can tell you that I've gone in to get products from them, and I'm not saying that their employees are bad. I'm saying that their policies are bad, right? Why do you teach people to cut it for less than a yard when somebody's buying a yard, right? I mean, I know it's going to happen, but it still irks me, right? It's still, you're telling me I'm getting a yard and I'm not getting a yard. It's annoying. So I'm not a lifelong customer. I try not to buy from them for anything, simply because I don't like being lied to. I don't like being told. It's like the post office, right? When they deliver something and they're like, well, they don't deliver it. And then they're like, and it shows delivered, and you're like, well, how does it show delivered? And they're like, well, we can show delivered up to 24 hours before it's delivered. Then how is it delivered? I don't get it. I don't understand how our world has let these like lies just be the truth now. Oh, the post office, they're just going to redefine delivered. Who said they get the rules? I mean, I'm sorry. We came together as a society many years ago, came up with the definition of this word. Now they're just going to change the definition of the word? No. I mean, I'd be saying, sorry, you can't call it delivered unless it's delivered. I mean, if I do that as a person, I get in trouble. But if they do it as a company or as a non-company, as a government entity, please don't argue with me on that. They're a government entity. I got proof of that from somebody from there. And I go, okay, why do they get to redefine it? Just because they want to? Because they want to make their numbers look good? Because they want, for what? For what purpose? Right? So these are all things that I think we are walking into the trap of drawing inaccurate conclusions. And the risk we see with this is that we are drawing these conclusions. We are taking actions based on these conclusions as a society, not as individuals. I mean, sure, there are lots of individuals making decisions based on, oh, the economy is going to fail. It might, but it's not going to be because all these companies are failing. These companies are failing because they didn't grow, because they didn't provide value, because some of them are lying to you, right? Because some of them are making up numbers because they're saying they have profit when they never really did. If you increase your debt at a rate faster than you have profit coming in, you're not profitable, right? And yet somehow we teach this in business and say, well, that's like, just bring on debt. I mean, as long as your income is paying the debt payments, I mean, you're fine. Okay, I don't understand the logic behind that whatsoever. It should be, your income should be paying for all the debt you just went into. But we don't do that as a society. We never have. These businesses are running off of old business models. And that is why they are failing. They're failing because they are not adapting. And so I do not think that we should be drawing conclusions about our economy based on companies failing. People aren't buying from those companies, or they are decreasing their buying from those companies because of other reasons, right? Yes, cost of stuff is going up, but I'll tell you what, Joann Fabrics, they can jump their stuff $1 and people are still going to buy it. They can jump their stuff triple and people are still going to buy it if they give them what they're promising. I know, because people buy online constantly. They're buying it from other stores, the same fabric for triple the price. I won't list the other stores, but I know, I watch it. And people are going to happily pay for that because they believe the value is there for what they're getting. So that was my long rant, but it's been long overdue. This has been ridiculous. I called it when Joann's went public. I said within 5 years, and I was being generous. It's been 3. I actually found an article. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Yeah, let me switch my camera. Okay, that was way more complicated than it should have been. So I found this article, which is hilarious to me because I feel like they ripped a lot of this straight out of my brain. And they talk about Joann files for bankruptcy 3 years after IPO, which is initial public offering. And I'm going to link this article in the description because it's interesting to me. And there's a couple things they talk about in here, and they're like, so first of all, this private private company, they acquired the established retailer in this buyout, but it was with some other stuff and it had a pile of debt in it. And look, they bought it at 1.6 billion. They're still reporting over $1 billion in debt. So they literally haven't been doing anything with their debt. And by the way, I don't think that $1 billion that they're reporting now is accurate, because in December, they were pushing almost $3 billion in debt, and they didn't do enough sales to bring it down that far. So I question their numbers. But they can come here and they talk about, brick and mortar stores and blah, 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 which again, for Joann's, they did shift to online, right? But it was horrible. They cancel orders galore. Their inventory systems are ridiculous. It's just, they have so many issues that should have been easily fixed that I don't understand. Like, why did they not address this? Right? I mean, I can think of a completely simple, I say simple, it's still going to take some programming. It's a simple inventory fix so you can tell people whether they're going to get one piece or not. And they're like, well, you're going to get this and possibly get this in 2 pieces. And then you get it and it's 7. I'm like, I only bought 6 yards. How did I get 7 pieces? And none of them add up to 6 yards. So anyway, that's thankfully not for all of the orders, but they cancel most of them. So, so they talk about this, and this was what's interesting to me. An exit for the firm via an IPO at peak hype and hoopla in March 2021 that dumped those shares into the lap of the gullible public. Now, I would not say gullible public, because as the public, we have the unfortunate distinction of having to. There's like really not really a way to go, wait a second. I had no way to be like, look, Joann's is not profitable. It shouldn't go public. There's nobody to listen to me, right? I have nobody to tell that to. The fact it got approved to go public, I then question all of our processes. So if you're like, hey, I'm thinking about investing in a new company going public, think about it, right? Because clearly there are no standards for this. And this would be proof of it. I feel like, especially when the arguments are from whoever it was, the CEO, whoever the spokesperson was at the time that said it, well, why are you guys struggling? Well, we don't know why people aren't buying right now. This is not verbatim. This is me, of course, being dramatic. We don't know why people aren't buying. I mean, there was so much demand during the pandemic and now people aren't buying anymore. Really? I mean, I'm sorry. If I'm a bankruptcy court judge and I have the leadership of a company come in and go, well, we went public because we were profitable for 6 months for a pandemic that we knew was temporary, and now we're shocked that it's not permanent. I would say, you know what? Change leadership right now, or you're just gone, because I'm not going to put you back into the public to keep sucking money out of, I mean, they're not going to have shares anymore. They're going to supposedly go private again or whatever. We'll see. But I'm just saying, if I'm a bankruptcy court, I'm going to go, yeah, you need new leaders right this second, or I'm not approving anything. Because an argument that I'm going to go into a pandemic, see profitability after 6 months, and think that that's going to be sustainable long term, that's not even business sense. That's like no sense. So I don't understand that argument or why they released that information, because to me that just says we have poor leadership, right? I mean, we have leadership that doesn't care. And that's what it feels like. That feels like this private firm went public to dump the debt onto the public. That's what it feels like. So if they didn't, and honestly, if I were in charge of this, I would say, look, you guys came in here and said you're profitable and you brought all this debt with you. You private firm have to buy it back up or somebody's going to prison. That's what I think. I mean, especially after 2008 financial crisis. I mean, we're holding these public companies accountable because they relate to our economy. And then now they get to just come open, oh, we're going to go public and we're going to dump our $2 billion of debt on the public because they were dumb enough to let us go public. No, that's not right. And we should be having, if we don't have laws in place for that, we should. So again, that's outside my wheelhouse. I'm not really interested in stocks or any of that kind of stuff. So that's outside my wheelhouse. If you guys know something, make a video. Link to it in the comments. I will totally put it into the description. So anyway, so that's my rant. I haven't done rants in a while, and I haven't been able to talk in a long time. So I'm like, yeah, I've been took a lot of medications to battle the spring season. We went from 67 degrees to like 42 degrees. It was snowing, and then it was 67 degrees, and then it was snowing again, and there's stuff blooming, and it's like, I don't think my body can take this. So before I get pneumonia again, I thought I'd do my rant. No, but my whole point to this was, if you've made it this far and you're still watching, I want you to understand that you can't take what you're seeing in the news, which again, this is why those of us feel that the news is lying to us. This is why, right? The economy, is it going bad with so many companies going bankrupt? I know I'm kind of using the same title, right? But no, I don't think that we can look at these companies failing and say that it has any indication on our economy. I think it's an indication that these companies are not pivoting. They're not growing. They're not adapting. They're not catering to customer needs. They have poor business leadership. They have no common sense. I mean, we can take a lot of examples from here to go, yeah, they deserve to fail, right? They deserve to fail. If you're a non-profitable business for that long, you deserve to fail. Close down. Let somebody else open up that knows what they're doing, right? I mean, to give a final example, there's a company that does print-on-demand fabric. It's called Spoonflower. I talk about it in a couple of my other videos. They charge like $30-something a yard for the same type of fabric that you can get at Joann's for like $5, right? You can't get it custom printed at Joann's for $5. But if you're just looking for fabric, but Spoonflower, sometimes they have to be like, sorry, we're on hold because we have so much demand, right? This was even before the pandemic. So they do a lot of sales right now. Granted, it's in a slightly different market and everything, but the point is their pricing at Joann's doesn't have to be the way it is. They can bring somebody in who knows what they're doing, increase their technology, change their website, improve their business side or their bulk side. There's so much stuff that they can do to improve their business and make it sustainable, and they should have done by now. And the fact that they've done these little teeny tiny things, spent so much money in these areas, got into so much debt, it just tells us that these actions that they're taking, these non-legitimate business actions, are proof that the company shouldn't exist then. And the ones that are filing bankruptcy, if they can't reorganize and start thinking correctly and have a really good plan for how to bring their business forward, then just shut down. You know what? You already dumped the debt on us anyway. Why dump the debt on us and then turn around and, oh, okay, well, we're going to go private again. They buy up the entire debt, sure. Otherwise, I hope those bankruptcy courts say no. Sell off all of your assets and shut down then, right? I mean, I'm a little bit passionate about this because I do not understand how these companies do this and get away with it. And even if they don't get away with it, how they do it in the first place. And this is ridiculous. So don't take it as the economy's being bad. Take it as an indication that you are probably correct and that we are shifting. Our uncertain times, it's uncertain because it's exciting, right? I mean, people are like, AI, it's taking over jobs. It's not taking over my job. It's helping me with my job. I mean, I had an entire conversation with Brendan Burchard. He is actually a high performance coach, does high performance coaching stuff, and he co-founded or founded a Growth Day app, and now he's in there as AI, and so I can talk to him. And I was having an entire conversation with him, and I'm like, see, right? I tell him my points and stuff, and he's like, yeah, here you go. And then he's like, and it's like interacting with me. Now, it would be really cool if I was really talking to him, but I wasn't. I was talking to the AI thing. But I'm like, these are the types of things that help you fine tune your ideas, it helps us, right? Now, sure, some jobs are going to get lost because of it, but we're evolving. We're doing new things, and until AI takes over drones, we're good. We can just keep doing stuff. And then I guess we go back to bunkers. I don't know when they take over. So going forward, I would argue that if you're in a business or you're starting a business, is think of how you can provide value, how you can add to the world, right? You can do something, and even if you're doing something that somebody else is doing, I wouldn't worry too much about that yet. I mean, it's one thing if you're a big corporation and you need to compete with other big corporations. But if it's you, like I'm creating a book on the Pinterest verified merchant program. I'm sure there's programs out there and there's books out there and there's people out there that teach it, but there seems to be a need for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put out my book and see if I can help people. If they take it, they take it. If they don't, they don't. That's one way how we learn if that's a value or a need to people. We also do marketing to teach them that there is, but there's a lot of potential out there. I can't even tell you how many ideas I have in my head, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this should happen, and this should happen, and this should happen. And Joann's is closing. That opens up a whole, well, I don't know if they're closing, but they're going bankrupt. That opens up a whole world if they do close, right? I mean, there's tons of companies that can pick up what they're doing, but can you do something different, something new, something novel, something that expands on them? There's so many things. So I'm like, they should have gone in this direction instead. If they had gone in this direction, which is what everything was indicating towards, I think about a combination of AI and embroidery, right? Embroidery machine. And people eat that stuff up. So anyway, there's a lot of potential out there, and it's just a huge growing world right now. We're shifting into so much. So I hope that you'll take this as more of a positive thing, other than I was kind of ranty, but that the future is wide open still. And if you're interested in doing something, if you have questions, if you want to just discuss stuff, hop into the Facebook group. I'm going to try to be more active now that I'm hopefully over pneumonia. Don't find out for another 2 weeks. And I'll find out for sure if I'm over pneumonia or not. But I sound pretty good for it, right? Yeah. Anyway, so thanks for watching this far. And let me know your thoughts. What do you think? You think Joann's was right to go public? You think they are going bankrupt for another reason? Let me know.